The CEO of Tourism South Africa joins me now. Thulani Nzima is our guest. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. I'm sure these are heartening figures, a good first 6 months. And I think we set some records. The numbers have made history. 4.6 million arrivals in the first 2 quarters of the year.
You are very pleased with the numbers, and especially when you consider the background against which these numbers have been achieved. You will recall that we are coming from a very difficult time globally in terms of economic recovery. Most of the countries that we are considering as core markets have actually not been able to come out of the recession as fast as we had hoped to. So we have registered quite a considerable amount of growth from our emerging markets, and that gives us courage to say our focus to the end of the financial year will be that we'll still maintain a very strong and healthy growth, slightly above that of the average world tourism growth numbers.
What I want to ask you is, why are people coming to visit?
Well, I think we need to outline a few things. The first one is that we are a very diverse country in terms of tourism offerings. We are much more than just a safari experience. We have adventure tourism, we have heritage and culture, we have design, we have all of these kind of things.
Those are great offerings, but when you look at where the people that are coming in this 4.6, I mean, where are their attentions, what are their attentions directed at?
Well, people always go to the tried and tested routes, Cape Town, Gauteng, Durban. These are the most popular. Mpumalanga is actually one of them as well. But our job is to make sure that tourism is spread across all the geographies of South Africa. So we make it a point that we go out and discover what are the kind of tourist attractions that could attract people away from the normal Johannesburg, Cape Town and Durban routes, so that people benefit from the tourism impact.
I'm going to ask you about the marketing strategy in the months ahead, particularly with the amount of global goodwill being poured to, directed at South Africa in the wake of Utata Madiba's passing. But let's talk about some of the numbers a bit more carefully. Increased arrivals from China and India. Yeah. Is it for business or is it for pleasure?
Well, let me talk about China very quickly. China is sitting very close to a 50-50 kind of split. Last year, in 2012, 49% of our tourism was business related in China. But you keep in mind that the balance of it is leisure. China is an emerging market in our view because we haven't really done enough in that market. Similarly with India. India's split between business and tourism is not that high, but we are putting a lot of focus on business tourism because it has certain obvious advantages.
Yeah, we're part of BRICS now, so there's a fraternal interest in maintaining the contact.
It is, but also in terms of the return on investment, when you focus on business tourism, you get much more out of that because the average spend of people who are coming into your country for tourism is higher. Remember that these people are not generally paying for their own airfares and hotel accommodations. They're either coming here on an incentive program or they are coming here on a program.
And will they revisit in their personal capacities
indeed.
later?
And then the general tendency as well is that they will come in couples and they will take a pre and post conference itinerary. And whilst the one spouse is sitting in the conference rooms, the other one is taking a program of sort. So this is how it generates money. But across the board, our business is balancing now. We're making sure that we have a diversity of sources of tourism from emerging markets to mixing leisure and safari, to making sure that we focus on business tourism. This is where the growth is.
Time is against us, Mr. Nzima, but I want to ask you about this. A lot of people, well, this is just anecdotally speaking, have spoken about coming to South Africa for some of the commemorative events around Madiba's passing. Do you have any preliminary data on how many people perhaps came for this event specifically, and how are you going to turn that around, and or what would be the bounce effect of that for next year with people wanting to come, in a sense, to make a pilgrimage to South Africa?
Yes, indeed. The first thing is that we cannot give you numbers at the moment, but we'll give you a yardstick. The barometer at the moment is that we had at least 94 heads of states in this country. And you can imagine the size of entourage that will be accompany that. The second thing is that all the hotels and restaurants and car rental companies were booked out during that time. So wait until the end of the month to see exactly where we're going to end up. Going forward, how are we going to benefit from the legacy of this icon that's Nelson Mandela? We have already done that. We got the Soccer World Cup, the Rugby World Cup, the African Cup of Nations. All these events were given to us on the basis of thanking Mandela for his contribution. But going forward, we want to develop, and we're going to be launching this very soon, a Nelson Mandela-inspired tourist attractions. We want to make it a pilgrimage, and watch the space.
All right, we're very excited to hear what you have in store. Thank you for your time, Mr. Nzima. Appreciate that. He's Tourism South Africa CEO, Thulani Nzima.
News that moves. eNCA.com.